Welcome back on the AM show. As you can see in the background, it's all about the weather for starters as we get into our big stories. And we're going to be contemplating the torrential rains from yesterday. It poured for quite a while. I got caught in it somewhere. I was soaked to the bone. I mean, my dress was, and I had to go somewhere. My shoe, everything was just taken over by the rainwater. So today we speak to the Ghana Meteorological Agency on what more to expect. We'll be checking the extent of damage caused by the rain, and I saw some of that on my stretch. In fact, this morning, there was still flooding. There was intermittent rain overnight. There was flooding on 3 portions of the stretch that I used. 3. And you know what that does to traffic. So there's a whole lot of slowdown, and you have to be careful because if the water gets into your engine, that's another wahala. We don't want that cost. You can't even afford it. That's the situation. So how did you get home last night? How did you make it home? Did you use public transport? Did you use a ride-hailing service? Was it trotro? Were you driving? Did you use a train? Because a few people sometime in the day would have access to that. Did you experience flooding in your area, your neighborhood? Share with us on social media. JoyNews on Facebook. Of course, you can drop your messages on the live feed as well. Let us know how exactly things went for you. But for now, we're joined by senior forecaster at the Ghana Meteorological Agency. Yeah, that word is a bit of a mouthful. Joshua Asamoah. People would often take it, go safe, and say GMET. And I don't know. Joshua, a very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
I think you'd have to unmute.
Yes, I'm unmuted.
Okay, then please speak up a little bit for me.
Okay.
All right.
I hope it's fine.
That's much better. Now, we've had some interactions with you, I mean, over the last few months or so. You've given us a picture, but yesterday's zone took us by a bit of a surprise. I saw the report that supposedly rain was expected, but how early did you put this report out yesterday?
Okay, so there was actually a report at 5 a.m.
5 a.m.
That indicated that there's going to be rain over more areas in southern Ghana later in the day. That's from the afternoon into the evening. But more updates came around 11 a.m. when we updated the morning forecast, indicated that there was a rainstorm that was tracking into the country to affect more areas in Ghana. So by 11 a.m., more areas in Ghana were predicted to get some rainfall conditions.
Now, looking at the report you put out, what was going to be the extent of the rain, around when, the span, and all of that? Because I had seen the report, I had actually not done a thorough reflection on it, but then all of a sudden in the evening, I was caught somewhere, and trust me, I got into my car quickly, but when I arrived home, between getting home and opening the gate and getting to, the building proper. Hey, the way it whipped me, the bashing was serious. It caught many unawares. That is what I noticed yesterday. What was going to be what was the expectation in terms of how ferocious the rain would be, how many hours, how long, and all of that? What was the expectation? And did it match what was projected?
Yes, it actually did. We expected that it would last for most of the late afternoon hours into the evening. So it was actually a rainfall that was expected to last for some longer hours. The intensity was actually felt mostly in the Volta and then the eastern regions. So even though we are complaining in the Greater Accra, if you move into the eastern and then the Volta regions, you would realize that the intensity is quite higher than what we experienced in the coastal portions of Ghana. So we're expecting this thing to really last for some time, and that's exactly what happened.
So a lot of people yesterday, there were images posted like we would usually have the rain just after a short while, flooding was happening. Some people were stranded, others were trying to get home, and it wasn't that easy to do so. Are you saying that the intensity as well was projected, that we expected it to be this intense? Because I realized yesterday, apart from the traffic and everything, a lot of people were basically caught pants down. People reached out to me saying their buildings, there was flooding into their rooms and all of that. What was this expected as well, the intensity?
Well, the intensity was actually the forecast from the forecast, we were expecting varying intensity. So it wasn't going to be severe or moderate throughout. So you
Right.
have light, you have moderate, and then heavy at a time. But due to the duration of the rainfall that we had, that's what made the accumulation of the rain over the period have that kind of devastating effect. So it's not more about the intensity, but then the duration of the rainfall that we had.
We're getting to the end of the month of April. We're practically at the end of it. And we know that nowadays, on the back of climate change, global warming, some of the weather patterns are not always what we would expect. The typical rainy season, the typical dry season, it sort of shifts and changes. What period are we in now, per your reports from what you gather? What period are we in now, would you say?
So we are in the rainy season. It actually started in March. We're still in the rainy season. But during the rainy season, there are periods that you can go without rainfall. That's a dry spell. So you can have even up to 10, 20 days of no rainfall during the rainfall season. That shouldn't take your mind off the fact that we are still in the rainy season. So any activity you take around this time, just be aware that from now till July, we're still in the major rainfall season for southern Ghana. And we'll get some short break before the minor rainfall season sets in September, October, and then November.
I posed that question because, yes, the rains have been with us. I've noticed a certain trend. I got beaten by the rain not some weeks back. In fact, it was hilarious for me because I just left the studio, went to a place about 2 minutes away from my workplace to make a purchase. And it started. It broke my umbrella, and of course, I got beaten again. The ferocity, the intensity, and sometimes how unexpected it is. We're in the season, but you would realize that for a lot of the time, you have a lot of sunshine. In fact, the sun comes out a lot nowadays. It's pretty hot. And then all of a sudden, on some days, there's just havoc. The rain just pours. That's why I'm asking, because it's not your typical rainy season like we would have yesteryear. So what then can we expect, let's say, in this coming weekend, I should say, and in the coming week? What can we look forward to in terms of rain patterns?
Okay, well, actually, for the major rainfall season, because it starts somewhere in March, and March is the hottest month in the year, this is the kind of weather that we see around that time. You see a lot of thunder, windy conditions, and some heavy rainfall happening around this time, because the sun is actually the primary source of energy for the weather activities that we get here. So when you're getting lots of sunshine, it's actually an indication that if all the other conditions that lead to cloud formation are there, then there's a possibility that you'll be getting rainfall. So the kind of rainfall we get around this time is a convective kind of rainfall, unlike when we get into the monsoon period, where you can have clouds the whole day, can even be raining throughout the day, but you not see sun or hear lightning and thunder or see lightning flashes. So this is actually typical for the major rainfall season, the kind of weather we are seeing now. It could be sunny for the whole day, and then later in the afternoon, we'll just trigger some cloud formation and then eventual precipitation. We should expect these kinds of activities from now till July, before we go into the break, and then the minor rainfall season sets in. But in August, it will basically be cloudy for most parts of the day, some drizzle, slight rain during the day, but not as what we are seeing at this particular point in time.
From now to July, you said?
Yes, the major rainfall season is expected to last until about July.
It's going to be good for the farming community, among others. And of course, we need the rainfall. But
Well,
when it catches you like this, it's not funny at all.
Not entirely the case. For agricultural purposes, you need the rain for a number of times.
Yeah,
not the
some specific
intensity per
months.
se. Yeah. So for us in the eastern coast of Ghana, we tend to get the highest number of heavy rainfall within the season, but we don't get the highest rainfall days within the season. So if you move into the eastern, the Ashanti, the western regions, the forest zone, it rains almost every day there. But for us in the Volta, that's the coastal part of the Volta region, into the Greater Accra region, we don't get the rains frequently, but there are few occasions that it rains, the intensity tends to be quite high.
Yeah.
That is not too good for agricultural purposes. Yeah, because you get all the rains in a day, then after some time evaporation happens, everything is gone. Then you don't get the rainfall for a number of days again, so it's not good for you. Yeah, but for people in the forest areas, because it rains almost every day, the intensity does not really matter because of the frequency. It's good for agric purposes.
So, of course, whether you're farming groundnut or yam or rice paddies require a lot of water. Even there, you would need some regulation, natural regulation, but on the back of our erratic weather patterns or rainfall patterns recently, that is not so easy to gauge. So, of course, a lot of them have to use extra means of irrigation and all of that. In terms of sunshine, what can we expect? We've seen pretty hot periods in recent days and weeks. What can we expect on that level?
All right, so from March, April, May, going into about June, we should expect these very high temperatures. It will continue until that time. But July going into August, it will start getting a bit lower. So we'll be getting colder temperatures around July into August. And then I'm sure people will actually be complaining around August when the temperatures get quite cool and then they feel like it's not normal. Last year we were getting similar conditions and people were complaining a lot. So we should endure for now. The hot conditions will continue, but from July going into August, we'll be getting some colder conditions for most parts of the country.
We all remember some of the disasters that have taken place in this country on the back of flooding. I mean, I don't have to remind everybody. And in the month of May, we have that recollection about what happened. But within this period, already people are saying the rains have been pretty fierce. Which period do you forecast is going to be the fiercest when it comes to raining?
In recent years, we've realized that the rainfall season and then the duration of rainfall and even the frequency of the rains tend to be higher around the minor rainfall season than the major rainfall season. So September, October, November tends to give us more rain for southern Ghana than what we are seeing in the major rainfall season. Just that the duration of the season is a bit shorter. September, October, November or start season for most parts of the south. And so if we should go by that, then it means the possibility of us getting these flood issues will be higher during the minor rainfall season than the major rainfall season. But it still does not take away the fact that we still get some heavy rains during the major rainfall season. And because planning and our activities are not so well, especially for us in the Greater Accra, any amount of rainfall has a tendency of causing some flood issues in Accra. And so we should be wary of flood anytime there's a possibility of rainfall.
In other words, yes, getting to the tail end of the year, practically in the last quarter, that's when, if you look at generally what has been happening, we should look at more fierce rain or the fiercest rain, so to speak, though that spell will be shorter and this one is longer. And again, I suppose what you're saying is we shouldn't be deceived. Just because you see the day start brightly does not mean it's going to end that way. Like I learned yesterday, I got a beating, a whipping from the rain. But to maybe to cap off the conversation then, what would you leave us with by way of what we have to do in these times to stay safe and where should we go, for example? There are some people who would say, oh, I want to get these daily updates and all of that. There are all these apps on Android and iOS and all of that. But what will be your final words to us in that regard and how people can stay safe?
All right. So we are in the season. Even as much as we are not getting the frequent rains, especially for Greater Accra region, we should still put our things in order. We have been saying this all the time. You shouldn't wait for the government to come and dissolve the gutters in front of your houses. And then we should try at least make a way for the groundwater to flow freely so that it doesn't overflow into our homes and cause flooding issues in our homes. But if you want to get weather information, you can always visit our social media platforms. So we are on Facebook, Ghana Meteorological Agency, GMET. And then on Twitter, it's at Ghana Met on Twitter. It's quite active. We update regularly, so you get all the updates as it happens and know where there's a possibility of rainfall. We also now use Instagram as well, Ghana Meteorological Agency. You get the information there. And if you want to also get it on WhatsApp, you can just send us a WhatsApp message on our office number 0302 777 172. We'll add you to our WhatsApp platform and then be updating you as and when necessary. But for people who live within Greater Accra region, I'd advise that you download the My Flood Risk Accra app.
My Flood Risk Accra
app.
Okay, yes. What does that app do? What does it show?
What it does is that for now it was a pilot case, and so we're just using some flood-prone areas in Greater Accra. So just the Accra Metro, East, and then West areas. That's where we are modeling for now. And so it will be able to tell you the water level within these areas, whether there's possibility of flooding within the area. You get to know all of that. But if you don't live within these areas and you stay outside of the area that we're talking about, you still can use the app because there's a push notification like what WhatsApp does. Yesterday, we sent a notification that areas in Greater Accra should be expecting rainfall of varying intensity through the app. So you just get it as a text message on your phone indicating that there's rainfall. Once you get the message, you can go into the app and know the specific areas where we are modeling and see how the water will rise within these areas. And when there's a possibility of flooding too, we use that as well to send notification. Yesterday, we still did the same thing, sent a notification that there's a possibility of flooding within the Greater Accra region. So if you live within Greater Accra, even if you don't live here and you one way or the other find your way in Greater Accra, you want to download the app and get updated with information within the Greater Accra region in terms of rain and then flood.
Josh, just stay with me for a little longer, for a while longer. We want to engage our viewers on what exactly transpired yesterday and what they are looking forward to, what their expectations are. Some of them will have questions for you. So if you don't mind, just stay with me as we activate the phone lines. 0302 211 691. We're doing this for good reason. You may have concerns that I am not the expert, but he is. So just call in if you have any now. Pick up your phone, give us a call, pose those questions, pass those comments. Let's know what your neighborhood was like yesterday when the rains poured. And let's have a discussion, basically, moving into the next few days and weeks. Like he said, up to July, we're going to see pockets of this every now and then. So call that number, 0302 211 691. 0302 211 691. I recall, Joshua, with angst, how years ago there was a Canadian who was betting every year that Accra would flood. I see you smiling. And he was winning. So the company had to stop that bet because I'm sure you know that if he had continued, even to today, he would still be winning. It's such a sad situation. But before we get into that, before I take your thoughts on that, we have Christian on the line. Hello, good morning.
Oh, good one, Mr. Fred.
I'd appreciate it if you could speak up for me. I can't hear you too well. Chris.
Okay, I'm Chris.
Where are you calling from, Chris?
Okay, sorry for that. I'm calling from Tamawest constituency, Spinters.
Chris, stop listening to yourself on the TV. Just focus on the phone. That's why you are delaying. Don't listen. Mute the TV and just talk to me on phone, okay?
Okay, so my question to the weather experts. I know periodically they've been having a summit or their findings throughout to how the weather is and the development afterwards. We want to know if after that they are connecting with the government, because if they do a finding and it doesn't go out to the government, for the government to also plan according to development. I want to know if they have anything of that sort, and if there is, how effective is it happening, and how is it affecting society?
Your call has been put on hold.
He's saying basically that, with all of these things that you come up with, your research among others and the systems you use, do you make them available to government so that they can also make projections on the back of them? I have a bit of an answer to that, but I'll leave you to give the answer.
Actually, there are institutions that are responsible to take out some activities with regards to these things. NADMO is one of them, and we collaborate so well with NADMO. Any information that goes out to the public also goes out to NADMO. We actually work together with NADMO to develop the impact-based forecast, where we don't just tell you the hazard that is going to happen, whether it's going to rain or anything like that, but we tell you the impact that the hazard will have over the area. And so they really understand that information, and then they use it quite well to trigger their emergency operations within Ghana. And not just them, there's the Hydrological Authority, who also are in charge of the water levels and then the drain systems and all of that. So once we give them that information, they can also use that to predict the possibility of flooding within some areas based on the capacity of the area and then the amount of rainfall that we are expecting. So it's not just these two, there are other institutions that we collaborate with. The forecast does not stay in the office, it goes out to all the people who need it.
All right, all those in the chain. Let's go to Philip now. Hello, Philip.
Yes, please.
Good morning. Please speak up for me. Where are you calling from, Philip?
Please, I'm calling from Adukrum.
From where?
Adukrum.
Adukrum? Okay. Yes. Good. What are your thoughts for us? Was there rain? Was there heavy rain in Adukrum yesterday?
Yesterday.
Wow.
I have a concern about this.
I don't know why I'm struggling to hear you guys. I think it may be something from our end. Go ahead.
Concern about this rain. I want to ask the expert, what are the procedures, or what are the instruments kept aside to keep this water? And I've seen that people are building to block the water channels, and nothing is done. What is government input about this? And what are they doing to curb this situation of flood? There are many places that are living on the sea. They don't experience this flood. But we Ghanaians, the government that is being, the power has been given to people build on water channel. And water is said that you block its way. So what is government doing? And what is the role of the whole land commission? There's something that they should do. So what are they doing?
Okay, Philip, interesting points. He says in Adukrum as well, it was heavy over there. And I hear in different parts of the country. What was the scope, though, Joshua? Yesterday, where were you expecting from the southern to the northern belt and the central belt? Where were you expecting these rains to pour and be heaviest?
Actually, the rain affected most parts of Ghana. The northern portions had their share, but for the intensity, it was higher for southern Ghana than the northern portions. And in southern Ghana, around the Volta, eastern regions, that's where we had the highest rainfall. Over 100 millimeters of rain recorded around Ikuapem, Ekropon areas. Poho areas had around 90. But moving towards the coast, it was around 40, 60 millimeters. Northern Ghana, just around 15, 20 millimeters, up to about 30 millimeters. So the intensity was higher in southern Ghana than the northern sector, but more areas experienced rainfall yesterday.
Right. All right. It appears to have covered quite some swathes of areas. But let's get into let's get to the call lines once more. Our final caller is Bismarck. Hello, Bismarck.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I hope you're well.
Everything is fine. My concern is about school children.
Before you go on, where are you? Where are you calling from?
Matayeko.
Matayeko. Did it rain? Of course, it poured there yesterday as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. What was the experience like before you get into your submission?
It's very cut and dry. It was very bad.
It was very bad.
Our place is not well developed, so it's not flood-prone area yet.
I see. All right. Please go ahead with your comments.
My concern is there any way you can liaise with the Meteo service so that at least when the rain is coming, school students can be aware so that they will know either to set off from school or to stay back for me personally, I don't have a problem. My students stay 400 meters away from home, so I don't think it's a challenge for me. But I do get concerned when it rains like this and schools are closed. How students are going to get home? That is my only concern.
You're talking about students, right?
Yeah, school children, the primary,
Right.
lower primary,
Right.
the lower primary. Yes,
Right,
yes.
right. And that's a very important point he makes. Of course, I guess more of us, parents especially, would have to get these apps and get that other one you spoke about. What did you mention again, Joshua? You mentioned something. Is it flood something?
Yes.
I said
My
area is not
flood
well
risk
developed.
Accra.
Let me note that down, and hopefully we can project it as well. So my flood risk Accra.
Yeah.
Is that an app?
Yes, an app.
An app.
Both, yes, on Play Store and then App Store. You can get that.
Right, my flood risk Accra. Let's all download this right after this conversation. I'll be downloading it myself because yesterday, now that he mentioned students, it even escaped me. I saw this father and he said he was called Nathaniel, that he watches the AM show. The way I had got in my car and they were walking along the road, he and this little boy, and the way the rain was beating them, I just said, hey, get in. And they were so grateful. It wasn't too far away. They were actually using my route, but I felt so bad. The way, maybe the elderly man could have, but the child, and it was just beating them like that. So parents, I think that's something you can do as well, so that you can also know what is happening. And even for everybody else, know when to go out and when to stay put. So that's the final call we've taken. Before you take leave of us, I was going to ask of any final comments you have, Joshua.
Okay, I think let me just start from where you just ended. We should be quite worried when we see clouds gathering or when it's pouring already. We should be worried and not really be interested in getting home so quick and want to be walking in running water. It's very dangerous.
And,
So
and
once
just
you
to
see
say this, yesterday I noticed after a short period, it was practically difficult to drive. My windscreen wiper was moving at the highest, and yet I had to be very cautious because it was raining so hard. You know, sometimes it rains so hard that even the wiper is not wiping.
Okay. Yeah. So at least the best thing you can do is get a shelter, wait for everything to cease, and then you can go to wherever you want to go to. Or if you get information ahead of time, then you take actions, get to your home before the event starts. But once you are seeing the conditions, it's best that you stay where you are if it's safe and wait for everything to end before you go out. So like I was saying earlier, we should just keep on getting the information, be very interested in weather. Most of the time, what we've realized is that when you send the weather, people are not really interested. Once they see the atmosphere changing, they will now be revisiting the information that was sent hours ago, and it would have been too late by then. So we should be very interested in what happens before you go out. Just get to know how the weather will be like and know how you plan your day accordingly.
Don't think that just because the morning is looking sunny, in fact, that could be a warning signal. It shines like that, before you know, next thing, it's pelting rain. Joshua Asamoah is a senior forecaster with the Ghana Meteorological Agency. Joshua, thank you so much for your time this morning. We're grateful, sir.
Thank you.
All right. So from there, we're going to take a breather and we'll return with a lot more content on the AM show. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.